Welcome to another edition of Wide to Tall Film Festival. And today I'm honored to have with us here Kay Wong, sustainable fashion designer all the way from Hong Kong at silly o'clock in the morning. So she is the founder of Fashion Clinic and Future Fashion Lab, the sustainable fashion show. Well, actually, it's a fashion festival. Kay, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a pleasure to have you here with us, to share with us a little bit about sustainable fashion and sustainable, fashion design, slow fashion even. It's something that, we wanted to take upon ourselves because, as you know, fashion is something that helps us find our identity, especially with the younger generation. So
absolutely.
Yeah, could you tell us more about, Fashion Clinic and Future Fashion Lab?
Okay, so maybe I'll start with Fashion Clinic. I mean, after some years of research and digging into the problems behind the fast fashion industry, I felt that the fashion industry really is sick. So I wanted to build this clinic. It's not a hospital, it's a clinic because it's small scale. We repair and redesign clothing, pre-loved clothing for our customers. But then at the same time, we do a lot of education. I gave 40 sustainable fashion talks over the last 2 years. We do workshops regularly, and we work with brands a lot because that's where we can actually make a bigger impact. So we redesign dead stock garments and material for brands, finding solution for how to transform their dead stock into new products, basically. Wow. So that's Fashion Clinic.
I really love the way, I love the way you use clinic because you thought that, or you felt that, fashion was sick. That's a really cool analogy.
I don't think it's just fashion. It's like maybe it's fashion, it's fast fashion, it's fast products, fast furniture. Everything is speeding up so much. So we're kind of trying to slow down and rewind this too fast-paced world. Like things are just cheaply produced, low quality. People buy it quickly and throw it away to the landfill quickly, and that's very linear. It's not circular. We have to kind of reshuffle it to make the world a better place, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're so used to hearing that byline, make the world a better place, but we're always just wondering how. We're just one person, and I hear you on the topic of being too fast. Like we seem to be just racing ahead without really knowing where we're going, and for what? For what? For the sake of productivity.
I mean, traveling in Europe a lot, just seeing a lot of designers doing really great work within the sustainable area. So I had this idea a few years ago that I don't just want to do this by myself. I want to kind of connect the designers doing really great work. So we had the opportunity when I wrote this proposal to DBS, the bank. They funded us to do this 10-day sustainable fashion festival. And we had we had several sponsors. So the Mills, which is actually a really cool space that was transformed from a textile mill into this kind of art space. They sponsored us the local venue. So we did the 10-day festival there, just bringing together 30 plus international sustainable fashion designers that I felt did really great work. We also flew some designers over to join us on the panel discussions, doing the workshops. It was just really great synergy, just kind of curating that exhibition, bringing these people together to redefine what sustainable fashion can be about.
Yeah,
It's a really
that's
great thing.
that sounds really amazing, you know, and that would be our Future Fashion Lab then.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
How long ago was that? Can we
That
have it
was
back?
2019. I did
Um,
that also just imagining if one day, something like Future Fashion Lab can replace normal fashion weeks. That would be kind of my ultimate dream. If someone can do it, or if someone would, you know, sponsor this, I think that would be really great.
yeah, that would be really great. I think that would be something that, I don't know. Let's keep this open because this is going out to a lot of people. So maybe somebody might pick it up. But yeah, let's get back down to, the whole concept of sustainable
Hmm.
fashion. Um, can you please, dive a little deeper and tell us, you know, all about this? Like, what is actually, how do you define sustainable fashion?
When I first started, I started with looking at documentaries like The True Cost, and which within that I realized there's so much pollution going on and so much problems with the um, factory workers not being treated well. I mean, they're dying for us. They're sweating and bleeding for us in the factories. Like seriously, we just buy fast fashion without connecting with the person who's making it. So I guess Fashion Revolution, this NGO in London, really opened my eyes because they they do a lot of research. Every year they would have a report on how around like 300 bands would join and tell us how they're doing um, in terms of the sustainability. So I think that there's a lot of issues that there are issues about the environment, like is your production polluting, and then there are also ethical issues that surrounds the factory workers, the farmers. Yeah, it's just how do we turn this originally linear cycle, not cycle, the linear take, make, and dispose linear line, and turn that into a circle. Like how do we design um, garments and products with the end in mind so that it can be either composted, completely composted, it can go directly to the bin, or how do we join the dots? Like there's like clothes swapping, there's secondhand clothing market, there are a lot of people working on recycling of textiles. Um, and then I guess Fashion Clinic sits maybe more at the beginning of the cycle because it's like the extension of life of clothing. When you feel the garment, you know, is broken, we help you repair. When you feel like it's out of fashion, we help you redesign. So that's more at an earlier stage. So I mean, there are a lot of people working at different points within this circle. So I think kind of the whole sustainable fashion is all about this. How are we making this linear line circular, basically?
Wow, thank you. That really brings it very, very succinctly because, I like how you talk about designing with the end in mind. I mean,
Hmm.
you to be very honest, that's what we have to do for film as well. Like I'm a filmmaker, right? And
Yeah,
we always design with the end in mind, like where is it going to be screened? And
right.
even with storyline, it's where is the climax point and how does it drive up to there, foreshadowing, how are we going to get there in the end. And I didn't realize that was also one of the things that you could actually create a more sustainable economy
Hmm.
just by realizing that we have to be responsible for all the ways that we create. Of course, creation is you know that is exactly what we're finding our purpose in, right? But
Yeah,
we have to be responsible for then where it has to end up at the end of
exactly.
that line. And it didn't occur to me that is such a simple but not simplistic answer to a really complex problem.
Yeah, so I guess that there's also like a lot of people using different terms to consolidate what this means. So you've been mentioning responsible. So responsible design is also like a genre now. There's responsible fashion, there's slow fashion, there's regenerative fashion. Because how do we create things in a way that we're not just taking from the environment, from the world? How do we regenerate, the land and everything? So circular fashion. So that there's like so many different terms, and I guess there are different designers out there focusing on different areas. So yeah, there's so much we can do within sustainable fashion, and it should also be beautiful as much as it is, sustainable. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I mean, if not, then we wouldn't want, I mean, human nature still comes back, right? And if it's not beautiful, then we'll keep looking, and then we'll keep buying, and we won't be able to satiate our needs of finding our own identity. I think that there needs to be some sort of a balance, I suppose.
Sure. Yes, balance is a very good word. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is really amazing, but I can't help but think, and I'm sure that all the youths and students are watching in are also wondering, like, how do you get so passionate about sustainable fashion? Like, you seem to know the entire process back to front, right? You've thought about this so much. How do you get so passionate about it? How did this all start?
I guess that has to do with my background. So my confession would be like, I used to be part of the problem. So 10 15 years ago, I started my fashion label together with my brother, and we had a lot of fun telling stories and through fashion. Like, we did theater shows. I mean, every season we told a story through our fashion. And we went around the world to show in different fashion weeks. We sold to 100 plus stores around the world. We had our agents in Japan and Korea. We had our store in Hong Kong, like first, second, and third. But then, at some point, like around 6-7 years into the business, I felt like, oh my God, I was so exhausted, because at the peak we had 15 people, and the whole thing just kind of kept speeding up. And my Korean agent was just like, okay, can you make more styles? Can you make it quicker? Can you make it cheaper? So I realized at that time, although we were an independent fashion label, this fast fashion effect was also, really affecting us, because I can't keep, speeding up, making more things and making it cheaper. That would mean I have to lower the cost of my team, or do I have to do that to my factory? I kind of, at the back of my mind, I felt there was some kind of problem. In 2015, I decided to close down my studio and shops. And very lucky with a Young Design Talent Award. It brought me to Copenhagen. And there I got to live a slow life. And then I also met a lot of very interesting designer friends who cares a lot about the environment. And I'd like to tell you about this girl called Lenka. She showed me these blood tattoo that she has done with logos of these fast fashion labels and big corporates. And I was like, why did you do that? And she was like, fast fashion is so bad, it hurts. So that really, that was like a really big impact. And that was the point. From that point on, I started, researching into what's happening behind the industry, the environment, the factory workers. And, I just decided to stopped buying new clothes for at least a year, and I blogged about it. And then I also set myself a rule not to use any more virgin material, because I felt, okay, there's just, so much waste. There's so much going to the landfill, and every fashion label has so much dead stock that they can't sell, and just, surplus material that they can't use. So yeah, that from that point on, I started with doing artwork with trash, and then so upon my return to Hong Kong, I established Fashion Clinic, because I felt that that's what I want to be doing for the maybe rest of my life, just to reverse what I've done as a designer, just how to take responsibility for what we've I'm so passionate about design and fashion, but I realize the damage we've been doing. So yeah, I hope to, through Fashion Clinic, or the festival that I've been curating, to join the dots. I mean, there are many people working on sustainable fashion behind the scenes. I feel like the circle is happening. We just need to be a stronger circle and take over the mainstream, because I think the whole fashion industry should become circular, truly circular one day.
Wow, that's really inspirational, Kay. I mean, I've got so many questions. I've got so many questions to ask you right now, but I'm going to start with the easiest one. And I think this is something that everybody's also wondering, but what is a blood tattoo?
Oh my God. Yeah, so the blood tattoo is, you can basically take your own blood out and then do a normal tattoo, which will fade with time. So when I saw Lanka, her tattoo was faded. She was just having goosebumps, and I saw like, oh, what's that tattoo like thing? So it's red. So the tattoo would be kind of red, but it would fade with time. So it's basically kind of faded when I saw it. But then I also saw that she continued with it the whole body for her graduation project, because that was her point. Like, fast fashion is so bad it hurts.
That is a lot of blood. She would take out her blood and tattoo it back into her body. Oh my.
I know.
Yeah, that would hurt. And okay, thank you for explaining that. I kind of regret asking it now, but but this leads me to my next question, which I thought was very eye-opening, when you said that you refused to buy new articles of clothing for a year. And when you explained why, it was because you realized that there was so much waste in virgin material. And I was just blown away, because I thought that it was better to buy virgin material clothing, so that we won't wash off microplastics into the wash. So when I hear this, I'm going like, all right, because you have to think about the end in mind, and there's so much waste that other bigger companies have produced, that there really shouldn't be picking up more material, or growing more cotton, or just creating more stuff until we're done with using up what we have in excess. So that really blew my mind. I didn't know that. Yeah, could you maybe expand on that a little bit? Because if I didn't know about that, then I'm pretty sure that a lot of people don't know about the the processes that come into all the processes that have to come into like sustainable fashion design, or even fashion design, that will make us a little bit more aware.
I think I started my journey in exploring what independent designers and brands can do in terms of sustainability. So that started when I was in Copenhagen. So I think my journey to Eindhoven to see Dutch Design Week really opened my eyes, because all the designers, every single designer I spoke to, had either a social or sustainable cause or value within their work. You can see immediately. And I think as designers, a lot of times, just, we're so absorbed into creating something beautiful that we forget to really design where there is a need. And that's also something the school, the Eindhoven Design Academy, would say to all the students, like, remember, I mean, on the first day of school, the headmaster would say to them, remember to design with a need in mind. Design where there's a need. This bunch of designers I met at Dutch Design Week, and just like people I've met, none of them designed or made anything with virgin material. So it was, I mean, I hope you don't mind me flying on and on, because I do have like a few examples. Like, so Lucy from Luxembourg, she made a range of accessories from human teeth, and this was it was called human ivory, and she was making a point, because like she's just very unhappy about how we take elephant's teeth to make jewelry for ourselves when we have our own human teeth. So she started the project by just, I think she's making a really good point, and I would understand that a lot of people would get disgusted. But then if you get disgusted with human teeth, why would you not get disgusted with elephant teeth, right? So I think she's still continuing with this project even like 4 years down the road. And because my dog has got some teeth that fell out, so I gave some of my dog's teeth to Lucy to make these earrings for me, because I felt, okay, then we shouldn't waste. I mean, that's just a question of, do we have our own, there's material even from our own, body that can turn into jewelry. So that's like one really good example that she's making a point with, I don't know, do you call this abandoned material or material from the human body? And then of course there is also Carmen Hiosa. She's Spanish. She used to work in the leather industry, and she created a leather alternative. It's called Pinatex. And that's also because she went on a trip to the Philippines and found out that when she was talking to the farmers, that they have a big problem. We eat all the pineapples, and then what's left over, it's the pineapple leaves. So then she went on a 10-year journey to turn these, leaves that the farmers couldn't deal with into a leather alternative. I mean, this is really admirable, because she used 10 years of her life, just working on how to turn this fiber into a leather alternative so that we don't have to take leather from the animals. And that's really amazing. So now a lot of, I think, Puma or like some big labels are already working with her, buying her leather to create products with that. So I think there are different people in different segments with material innovation, and just finding a different way of designing. And I think I think that we can only design change when we change design.
No, that's really, that really is awesome. I mean, this is something that is mind-blowing, right? I mean, the idea that we just adopt, mindlessly adopt, common practices, traditions, just the way that they were. We don't question anything, and we see the waste, going into every aspect of how this actually creates, a lot of tension for us. But we don't question in anything, right? In traditions, in culture, in fashion. Now we're finding out, right? And the alternative might be a little bit more difficult, more hard work, but I think, if anything, if I dare say so myself, if COVID is a little bit of a silver lining, in the sense that it kind of stopped the machine and slowed us down,
Yes.
so much so that we can actually
Yes.
just take stock and, reassess what we want to adopt and how we can actually choose other things to adapt to, moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. So, I mean, this is also inspiring, but I really want to find out from you, what is the latest project that you're working on right now? You've got fashion clinic and all these things that happen, but what is the next thing?
We've actually had a very big impact from COVID. I mean, we've been doing so much, education stuff, talks, workshops, the exhibitions, and we work a lot with theater groups on upcycling, costumes for them. But then with COVID, everything got cancelled. So so that was a point when we also had to rethink, how do we shift our how do we change our direction? So one thing was that we started really working with brands, because I feel that's an area that's really lacking. Like, not so many people are working with brands to find a solution for their leftover dead stock material or garments. So that's what we've been focusing on in the past year, which has been working really well. And then, because I traveled to Dutch Design Week some years ago, and I saw that there was this designer using this machine that can needle punch fabric scraps and make it into new fabric. So then I started researching, where's this machine from, and like, how much is it? And I wrote proposals to get some funding. So we're very happy that we received Design Trust funding, the seed funding, so that it kind of partially helped me with investing on this machine. So now it has arrived in our studio 2 months ago. So we're crazily experimenting on what fabric works best for this machine, like how sturdy is the textiles and what we can do with it. So and because the fabric that we create, we can put layers of fabric scraps and make it into new fabric. We feel it's very suitable for home textiles. So we're developing a home textile range with this new machine that we've newly acquired.
Oh my God, are you trying to tell me, if I'm hearing you correctly, that you have a machine that automatically recycles scraps of fiber into new fiber and new material that you can use in the real designing of a new line? This is amazing.
Yes, because I don't think people realize that the normal kind of way of recycling textiles takes a village to do. Like, it's a huge space, and you need people to sort the material, to sort them first, the material, the colors, composition, and then you've got to clean and wash it before you really break it down back into fiber, and then you need to respin it back into yarn and then weave it back into fabric. So it's like a whole long line of there's a village in Italy that does that, but it's like a village. So I was really surprised when I found this machine that can help us just turn fabric scraps through needle punching them fabrics together, which you don't really realize that it's like here's this fabric that we created. It's a really interesting texture. You can see how the needle goes through, and these are you can see it kind of melts the fabric into new fabric. And this is my iPad case. And then I've also, we're experimenting with different, this is the bag I'm using now. Like, I also just really like this texture. So that's, we're in the process of developing our product line.
No, I was actually thinking that it was going to be a lot thicker, and but it really looks very soft and pliable, and the texture is really interesting. Like, it's textured, but at the same time it's not rough. So it doesn't look like recycled, it really looks treated instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the way you said that it melts the fiber together. And then what do you
Yeah.
do after that? I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of like different colors and materials. Then do you have to go through a dyeing process after that? Like, how does this work?
First, it doesn't involve any sewing. Like there's not even thread. Um, it's an amazing thing because we don't have to use any sewing. There's no any adhesive, no glue in the process. It's simply needle punching, because I think it's just a very ancient technique that people can needle punch wool. And I think most people use it for wool, but because with a machine, we've got like maybe 3,000 needles. So when there's so many needles, you can actually, through kind of destructing the uh, structure of the fibers in the fabric, that it kind of marries and merges in and becomes one fabric.
Wow.
So yeah, there's nothing involved, and it's the size of a piano. I think around the size of a piano, maybe bigger than a piano, but it fits in our tiny studio in Hong Kong. So it's just an amazing, yeah. It's not even so much technology. It's quite mechanical. It's a mechanical device that helps us um, recycle and turn fabric scraps into new material.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like, why hasn't this,
Exactly. I don't.
Yeah.
But it's not a cheap machine. It costs around the cost of a car. Maybe it's like buying a car.
Oh, but if you put that in contrast to paying a village, it really is,
Yeah.
it really does, balance out somehow, but at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah.
I don't know, that there really is, real change up ahead. I'm also wondering, like, I also interviewed somebody else from the manufacturing line, and
Mhm.
it actually occurred to me that you can't recycle cotton or virgin material with, oh, no, I'm using the wrong terms. You can't recycle fibers from, like, plastic fibers like polyester and so on and so
Oh,
forth.
right.
So like
Right.
mix fibers together with cotton fibers. Would this machine cross that out? Like, would that be able to be done with this machine?
I've experimented with some. Um, I personally really like natural fibers,
Yes.
and needle punching does work best with wools and cottons and denims even. But then I've mixed in some kind of half polyester mixes, but I personally just don't really like that as much. So far, I mean, these materials, I think it's all cotton, 100% cotton. Um, but there's no limitation to what we can put into the machine. But I just don't like so plasticky
Mm.
material in general. But it doesn't reject it. Yeah, so I can put that in as well.
Oh my goodness, so this one machine that, okay, it's no doubt costs about the cost of a car, but it can then do what, larger factories and villages have not been able to do, and
Yes,
recycle, mixed fibers along with the wash. That's just
yes,
amazing. We need more of those things around.
I know.
Yeah, and so, but how do you keep this sustainable? I heard, I mean, I caught earlier on that, you're working with brands now. Like, the first thing I wanted to do was like, can I order one of those? But I realized that if you're working with brands, it's probably not going to be, I'm not going to be able to do that. But, how you make this sustainable? This is probably costing you a bomb, in R&D. Yeah, so R&D aside, where do you get the material from? And when you create it, where do you output it to?
The main point of making it different from how I used to run my label is that we don't really create collections like we used to before. So with clients, and brands, we make everything for them. So I don't carry any stock at all. But then, because a lot of people, friends, they know we're working with, just upcycling fabrics. So we naturally get given so much secondhand clothing and material. So, and then with this machine, we can turn these old garments and fabric into new products. So now, 3 years down, 3 years from starting our brand, it's the first time that I'm considering to, really create a collection that, shops can buy, because I've got so much material anyway, and we've got now a full-time seamstress. So it's possible for us to make small scale production of really high quality products that I've, really designed with the end in mind. So for example, this laptop case, I've just used a strap, and there's no extra, zipper, even buttons, nothing. It's all just made from this cotton fabric. And even the lining, the padding inside is abandoned kind of wool stuffing that one of my students earlier had just disposed of. And so it's like, would you like to take it? And I was like, okay. And then, I made this. So it can just, it can go straight to the compost bin at the end of the life. I don't need to take off anything. It can just go straight to the landfill and decompose by itself. So I think, that's designing with the end in mind for me.
You are such an inspiration, in this area of upcycling, because, all this while I've been talking to people that talk about the start of the process. And there is so little done at the end of the process because we just don't know how. And I've realized through some interviews that it costs so much to just collect, find collection points where we can collect, clean, sort, dispose, rip out zippers and stuff. And that process, nobody actually wants to take ownership of, because, then right after that, where are they going to send this material to? And, I think that's the biggest worry for everybody. It's like, if that's going to put more money out into the business, it's going to affect the bottom line, then it really, defeats the purpose in doing it as well, because then we won't be able to sustain our business. And I think a lot of people don't see that, when they talk about sustainability, they think it's about like just fixing the climate, but it's all these little things that need to play a part. Like, we need to be able to feed ourselves to be able to carry on the movement. And but I think I'm taking this off the channel now. So, but at the same time, it's leading me up to the next question. And, you've obviously found a way to be part of the solution, like truly recycle, truly taking something on and making it, with the end in mind. So, can you give me some tips? We're talking to designers, aspiring fashion designers, filmmakers that will be able to make a difference by putting these messages out there into the wider ecosystem, that how we love to consume cinema or just, videos nowadays has, opened up so much education. And as you were talking about it earlier on, can you, give us some insights into how we can be part of the solution and stop being part of this machine that has been, going on for so long that that it's so invisible to us now?
As I've mentioned, Fashion Clinic before, not Fashion Clinic, Fashion Revolution before. They have a lot of very interesting concepts about how to look at fashion. So that they've relative to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they've done a hierarchy of needs where, at the top of the triangle is where you buy like really high quality good designs that you would perhaps wear for your whole life. And then you've got, extending life of garments, then clothes swapping, buying secondhand, and, just there's so much you can do before you buy new clothing. So I think, I mean, that's maybe more on a personal level, but I think like in the same way, designers can start with also, I don't know, if that's super extreme, but just instead of, just not mindlessly buying virgin material, are there options out there where there's, just something that's being abandoned, surplus? I mean, there's so much possibility of getting completely perfect material that's not virgin, but just left over from brands, from people, from, I mean, if we can all, try to start with material that's abandoned, I think that would be like truly helpful in creating new things from just that, and just looking into possibilities of just also people who's innovated on creating just material like leather alternatives, or recycled polyester, cotton, that area. I mean, there's so much we can do within the whole, the circularity of the system.
No, I think that's so important to note, because we're not just talking about fashion anymore, are we? We're talking about like we're producing so much everything,
So
that we
much
can.
everything.
There's everything like plastics, metals. I mean, but plastic has a good purpose. Like for example, the casing for my computer, my screen, my table, my chair legs, and so on and so forth. It's like there is a good life for plastic, but there are also single-use plastic, for example, that we can just think twice before we purchase something, or take tin cut out, okay, take away out, and so on and so forth.
So I think to just kind of conclude, or the main key points I would like to say is that it's just really important to design where there's a need, and also design with the end in mind. I mean, even if designers would like to design with virgin material, I think designing something that's seasonless, something that's classic, that's something you would use or wear, if you can wear it when you're 20, you can also wear it when you're 50 or 60. I think that's the most important thing I would say to younger designers.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke with you recently about the whole concept of like what is good design, and something just really stuck with me, and that was good design is something that you'll wear forever. Like it's timeless, it's classic for you.
Yes.
And I kept thinking to myself, like, what is classic for me? Because what's classic for me might not be the same for somebody else. Like, the generations all have their own tastes in mind. So, can you expand on that? Like, what is good design, and how would you, classify good design? Because this is also talking to like the youth and, my age, I'm not giving it away. And, even my mom's age, and she's got this concept about what good design is, but, can you maybe share?
I think okay, one very crazy example is this period underwear I bought from the States before. I mean, this is it's a very maybe extreme example, but it's really designing where there's a need. I mean, before, I know there are also other alternatives like the moon cup that kind of helps us
collect
but because I just so dislike using pads. So I was so fascinated when my French friend shared this product with me. She said, oh, it collects it's just wearing a normal underwear, but this underwear absorbs your period, and makes it odorless, and really like it just kind of improved my life. So this is just like the most powerful example of designing where there is a need, because it didn't exist on the market. They created this material that can absorb so much of, I think, 8 hours of period, and makes it odorless, and you can just wash it at the end of the day. So it's just it reduces so much, you know, of these period pads from the landfill. Like since 4 years ago, I've not been using any pads anymore. So it's reducing that, improving my life as a woman during my, you know, cycle. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, and it's beautiful as well. So I think, wow, this is one of the best designs I've bought so far in my life, because it improved, you know, this particular aspect of my life.
Sign me up. I want 10 of those. I'm going to give it to all my lady friends. No,
Yeah.
this is crazy. I mean, all you have to do is just wash it. Think of all the money that you'll save just buying sanitary
Yeah.
pads.
Yes.
Right? That's
Yeah.
and that's crazy. You wouldn't even, you know, imagine if it was fabric, right? That it would not feel uncomfortable after 8 hours.
Yeah. No.
That is really advanced technology on material and design.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's amazing. Oh, wow. Yeah, I really don't think that we would be able to design it in schools at this point in time, but no, that's a very good example. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, but I think, you know, while we're on this topic of, you know, giving us examples of like sustainable fashion design, right, and design in general, I'm also quite you know, conscious that we actually will have a lot of fashion design students watching in as well, and also, you know, general design community, and, you know, so we're all also quite keen on, you know, looking good and dressing to feel good, and, you know, to get out there, you know, feeling awesome, you know, just by cloaking ourselves with the right attitude and stuff like that. But for the designers in question, I'm sure they're also trying to find out, because I am talking to a famous Kay Wong, the sustainable fashion designer. Would you be able to, you know, share some tips or trips, you know, tips or hacks or, you know, advice would be a better word, you know, for these students taking on, you know, the idea of trying to create their own sustainable fashion line? You know, what should they look out for? You know, would they go aesthetic over style, or, you know, or over practicality, you know, or is there a certain look that would kind of create that, I don't know, influence, if you want to put it that way? If, you know, like what we're trying to do is trying to drive this movement forward. Is that something that they can keep in mind, if I can put it that way?
Just having been to a few catwalks recently, when I look at either the students' work or younger designers' work, I have a question that cannot be answered, which I felt was the missing link to these designers' work. And I would compare that to some, you know, classic masters in fashion, like people like Coco Chanel, people like Yohji Yamamoto or Comme des Garçons or Alexander McQueen. I think these designers, they are legends because I think they have a very clear, in their head, they have a very clear image of what kind of a woman that they're designing for, or what, who is it that they're trying to, you know, create for. And I think it's very clear, like for, you know, Coco Chanel, it was, you know, breaking free from the corset, you know, that's the, when women started wearing more maybe straight lines, you know, it's changing something quite big and redefining the female silhouette. And then for Yohji and Rei Kawakubo, I think they were, you know, really, what they were saying was, you know, black is okay. Like at that time, I think a lot of, you know, people in fashion, they were still very into color, but then they came out and started doing, you know, not just by defining it through color, but just the forms were very, they were also, I mean, for Yohji, I think he was very against, you know, the why do women have to dress sexy in the way that's like so cheesy, you know, like really showing everything. Like for him, it was, you know, redefining, like actually concealing is another kind of sexiness, you know. He would always, you know, study the back silhouette of the woman, and you know, for him maybe the back is more important. And then for, you know, Comme des Garçons, she was very into, you know, deconstruction and reconstruction, and so her looks with are just so like mind-blowingly unusual. Like, and I mean, for her, she's super crazy. Like, I think she's also redefining what fashion can be about. Um, and you know, the woman that she creates is also something that you would never forget. So I think for, I don't know, young designers or designers today, I feel it's important for every designer to be able to answer the question, like, who are you designing for? Like, who is this woman? Like, if you're very clear about that, then I think you will be successful in creating what you want to create.
That is such an amazing answer. Redefining what fashion could be about. And
Yeah.
and it really sums it up, right? If you look at what fashion means to us, and we are meaning making machines, mind you, then you know we would be able to then break through the, what is it called, you know, the status quo, the cliches of what we think are, I don't know, styles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, like what we define as styles, like is it a girly look, or you know, a technical look, or is it contemporary, you know, is it in, and all these terminologies, they don't do us any favors because they keep us pigeonholed, right? But I love when you say to redesign or redefine what it means for the silhouette, for the woman, for us. And right now with sustainable fashion, it's redefining what fashion would mean for us. It's about that story.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think this brings me all the way back to the start of the conversation when I was so taken by your earlier examples of how you created story with your first company. And I was I mean, I really was so moved, right? And this is what it's all about. We're creating story that's going to reignite the imagination of, you know, millions of people, and redefine what sustainable fashion would mean to them and how they can like adorn, right? So it's about an attitude and how they would actually put it on every day. And when you do that, I think, you know, something clicks about that mindset, and you know, I think it makes you feel good, you know. What do you think about that? Can you, anything to add?
Oh, sorry, what?
Yeah, you know, like any tips or advice for the, I don't know. Oh, you know, I always ask my interviewees, like, do you have tips, advice, or even a challenge for our youth watching in right now? So, you know, this is something I know that sustainable fashion is, you know, you live, breathe, eat it. Do you have any advice for them?
I think the major exercise everyone can do is to reorganize your closet by taking every single thing out and face it, because I think every modern consumer today has too much. And when you actually have to face it, the problem, like your closet, bring everything out, just so that you know, maybe realize, oh my God, I've done all these, I've bought all these mistakes, or I've repeatedly bought the same garment without realizing it. And just reorganizing it into your closet so that you'll be able to see everything. I think that's the one of the biggest challenges that I've been through. I mean, because being a designer, I've collected so much clothing in my wardrobe. I've done this exercise actually 3 times just to make sure, you know, I know where everything is. And I think that's just the best thing you can do. And of course, the next challenge up would be, can you challenge yourself to not buy anything for, I don't know, 3 months, 1 year? Yeah. And then you'll realize, actually, if you don't buy any new clothing, you'll be just naturally finding ways to repair, redesign, swap clothing with friends, find the most amazing vintage or secondhand store in your neighborhood. It's just so much you can do, really.
I can tell, spoken from experience, because you did that when you were in your younger days as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
No, I love how you
Yeah.
phrased it though. You said reorganize your closet and face your mistake, face the problem. And that really is what it is, isn't it? Because I
Yeah.
think when you see, what you've collected subconsciously, like just mindlessly buying, when of course sometimes we also know that it makes us feel good when we buy new things, right? For the brief period of
Mhm.
time. So
Yeah.
when we actually see what we have collected over the years, I
Yeah.
think that will give us a bit of a wake up call. And just
Yes.
clearing out that clutter might actually,
Yeah.
just clearing out that clutter might actually be helpful for us to just clear up our mind as well.
Yes.
Well, that is really awesome, Kay. I mean, thank you so much for your time. I'm really
Thank
cautious
you.
about the time. We've gone on for a little while now.
Mhm.
So I guess, we've come to the end of the conversation.
Mhm.
Would you have any last words for our candidates? They're probably going to embark on their journey of like more research and, coming up with different perspective and trying to build something, maybe join forces with a fashion student and take this on. Any last words for them?
Good luck, guys, and I hope you come up with something that's designing where maybe there's a need, or designing with the end in mind. Yeah, so thanks for having me today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I know that they're going to
Thank
be
you,
so
Chrissy.
inspired by your talk. It's
I hope
so
so.
amazing. And
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to try to, send my feelers out, see whether we can actually like do something in future as well. Thank you so much for coming
Yeah, thank
by.
you, Chrissy.
Yeah.
Yay.